It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
Look out, the captain's away!
The Rugby League Hour. Brought to you by Microbiome Solutions Limited, makers of Effluix, the new way to clean up dairy effluent and wastewater while increasing the fertiliser value of your irrigation in one easy step. Visit microbio.co.nz for more.
Strong, powerful, try!
Round 26 kicked off on Thursday night, and that was the Cowboys beating an understrength Storm. Manly. Was it an upset against the Bulldogs? Bulldogs have won 5 in a row going into that game, 34-22 on Friday night. Panthers easily beat the Rabbits. Eels, massive lead against the Dragons, then a whole lot of garbage time tries, but they clung in there, hung on. The Dolphins just whacked the Broncos. Warriors coming back. Great win against the Sharks. What does it mean? Well, Tony Kemp can explain. Knights taking care of the Titans, which gives them a home final fixture to make the 8. And the Raiders, great win again for them, but it's probably too little, too late. Tony Kemp.
Oh, superb!
Up the wires.
How good is that?
Tony, let's kick it off with the Warriors because the season is now officially over. There's a bye next week, not in the conversation. It all ends with a really good comeback win against Cronulla, but I don't know. I mean, look, if you're the kind of fan that you're satisfied with that, that's happy, and you think, okay, well, that's a great way to finish the season. You've got momentum going into next year. All well and good for you, but I don't know. It just feels a bit flat to me because it just, what does it mean?
Well, I think how you're feeling, Marty, is you're disappointed. A bit like a Brisbane Broncos fan. You went to the grand final last year, you're leading by 12 points with 10 minutes to go, and you get run down by Penrith and lose the grand final. I think the sort of similar feeling where you can go out against a top 4 side and beat them on their last game of the season, and yet you're not even anywhere near the finals conversation. And I reckon the way the fans have been this year, they'll be really happy with that win. But deep down, they'll be saying, well, if we can beat Cronulla like that with Nico Hines back on the side, how come we're not playing in the final series? And I remember, Marty, back in 95, Cronulla have always been that team where the Warriors have played really good against and won some epics. I remember Richie Blackmore going down that right edge and slipping that pass, one of his famous passes to Shaun to win the game for the way back in 95. And Shaun Johnson's done the same thing over the last couple of games that they've played there. And all but it for Shaun, I'd say. His last game, set up the last try in the last 20 seconds. Great theatre, great result, but overall for the season, I think very disappointing.
Yeah, you just sit there. I mean, that's where I'm feeling. I just don't want to celebrate it too much because I just think, well, what am I celebrating? I'm celebrating 9 wins out of 24 and half a dozen games which are lost by 6 points. And it really does feel like what might have been. Well, yeah, that was my whole point. Just in that last bit of dialogue, what might have been for a number of teams this year. I think, if you're a Brisbane supporter, you'd be absolutely pulling your hair out because after last year's effort, they were probably favourites at the beginning of the year to make it through to the top 4 at least and fighting up for another grand final, but they're not even going to make the 8. And it's been that season, Marty. We said right at the beginning that it will come down to the last game of the season to sort out the top 4 and the top 8, and it's definitely played out that way. And the team that's missing on this side of the Tasman, of course, is the Warriors, who have finished, I think, 13th for the year. And if you're not disappointed and you're walking around happy that you're a Warriors supporter, I think you really need to have a decent look in the mirror because given where they were last year, finishing in the top 4, fighting for one spot away from the grand final, everyone's expectations at the beginning of the year were talking about, yep, we're definitely top 4 this year and we're going to push for a final spot. That hasn't even been realised or anywhere near it this year. And I guess for me, Marty, it's really about celebrating Shaun Johnson's last game. It could have gone any better for him. Well, yeah, I mean, fairy tale finish. Yeah, and look, and if that was a game that propelled us into the top 8 or something, I'd be dancing from the ceiling. Of course, and he goes out on a high, and good on him. And he's got this plan, which I was reading on the weekend, where he'd like to actually mentor up and coming 6s and 7s, and I thought that sounds like a good idea. I don't know kind of what schemes are in place or whether there is, or whether it's just up to individual clubs to do that kind of thing. But it makes perfect sense that
guys that have just finished their career, to me, are actively involved, especially in a position like his.
Well, I think that the Warriors will definitely have a place for him at the club. I think if you're looking at the commercial benefits of having Shaun involved in the club, he's got a massive social media following. He's married to a silver fern. He's got the making of the it couple as far as marketing goes. And they'd want to be sort of, I guess, leveraging off that going into these, especially his first few years where he's not playing football, and bringing him back into the club. So I think there's a definite position there for Shaun, whether it's mentoring halfbacks or not, is yet to be seen. But I think we'll see Shaun Johnson around the Warriors for a few years to come, and even the Kiwis in some sense, where he may be helping the likes of Stephen Kearney and Nathan Kalis with the young boys coming through. But the season really for Shaun has been one of missed opportunities. I think, if he reflects on this year, his percentages haven't been right up to scratch. I know he talked about, Andrew Webster bringing him back to a place he never thought he was going to get to, and you've got to tip your hat to Webster for doing that last year. But if you're looking and reflecting on the season that we've just had, Shaun Johnson was a key component why we're not playing in the 8, and I think he'd be disappointed about that. Yes, he'll take the win against Cronulla and the exit and the way that it happened on the weekend, because it was great theatre. But when he sits down after he's had a few beers, today and tomorrow, and really reflects on where the Warriors season should be, I think he'd be the first to admit that they should be playing in the finals.
One final question on the Warriors before we move into the teams that actually do count from here on and that are actually playing finals football or want to be playing it. Is this squad good enough to improve then upon the position and where it has finished this year? I mean, or who needs to be added and what changes have to take place to get us from 13th spot? Because that's the reality of it. You can talk about it in many different ways as you want, but the reality of it on the points table is 13th with 23 points from 24 games and 9 wins and 1 draw. So can this squad produce what it wasn't able to this year next year?
Well, if I was going to give you a snapshot, Marty, the simple answer is no. And people, I know Paul is probably saying, Kemp, he'd moan at a funeral, but the reality is you're losing a marquee number 7 and a marquee number middle forward. Yes, you're bringing Fisher Harris over here, so you're getting a like for like as far as the middle forward goes, but you still haven't positioned yourself with a marquee number 7. And I think, in the competition this year, if you're looking at your top 4 sides, they've got marquee 7s inside their sides, as well as their number 9s. And, if we're looking at improving on next year, I think there needs to be a couple of acquisitions, especially in that spine, that, it's going to probably take them further up the table. And if you're just asking the question, can they talk with the squad that they've got going into next year? My simple answer is no.
It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on The Platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.